Steve Bannon. He doesn't say how he had met Steve Bannon. I'm sure this one's a lie. I don't believe he met Steve Bannon in January 2017. I believe he met Steve Bannon way before January 2017. But let's say that it's true that they met in 2017. And by the end of 2017, they had started working together. And suddenly this movement, which had been a relatively small anti-CPP campaign, became a really big deal. It became a massive network of centrally coordinated media figures, outlets, you name it. If you look at the whole list of companies that this guy launched, like Wow launched during this time, it's quite impressive. And suddenly there was an operation the Chinese had to amplify messaging across the United States, to not only amplify messaging, from the outside. It's one thing amplifying it from China or from even from Canada, if you like. But it's another thing when you're actually inside the United States and you've got these amplification methods, even though the message might be controlled externally. Here was Guo Wengi and Steve Bannon controlling the message domestically and then distributing it around. It's a bit of a difference, and it certainly makes understand how the power of proxies. Bannon is, of course, a proxy for China, and when he's out there speaking, he does so with China's backing, but because he's aware of the situation in this country and because he's aware of everything that's happening in the political arena, he's able to fine-tune messaging in a way that would be really hard to do from Beijing, but he can do it from based, which I believe is New York City. As he was describing there, the terrible restrictions of New York and comparing them to China, it's quite laughable when you think about it. But Wengi is quite a fascinating figure himself. He's got, as I mentioned, this capacity for starting companies. There are so many companies in his whole world that I couldn't fit them onto one slide, but I have put them here. There are at least some of them here, at least I should say. There are 30 or so entities, and I'll show you that chart in just a second. But in this chart, you'll see the main ones that affect the United States. So the big overarching umbrella company is called Sarika Media Group. And underneath it, you see there's a bunch of these